Welcome back, YouTube. I am Balamage, and we are going to go over how to maintain any map on the Atlas, and perhaps more importantly, how the map drops work and how to make your own decisions. So there's a lot of people around right now that are just telling you, oh, if you want to maintain glaciers, we'll just Elder one and shape the other of these two maps, and then you do that and you clear all the tier 3s and then you go, and now you've got your glacier sustain, and it works fine. But I thought I would make a video explaining from the ground up how the map drops work, so that you can then pick your own maps that you want to maintain, and so that that information will carry you through to the next league and the league after and the league after as they mess around with the Atlas like they do. So we're going to start right at the beginning, and this is a little bit basic. How map drops work. So when you are inside a map, and we're going to pick any map at all. Let's start where our stronghold is on race course. We're just gonna start on race course. We're gonna say you're running a race course. When you are in this tier 7 map, every mob can drop any map below tier 7. White mobs inside this tier 7 map will only be able to drop tier 7 maps and lower. Blue and rare mobs, the magic and rare mobs, will be able to drop +1s, tier 8s and up, and the unique boss, as well as any other uniques you throw into the map, like beyond bosses and things like that, will be able to drop +2. So you'll be able to get a tier 9 off those. But most of your map returns will come from white mobs and magic mobs. So you're looking at tier 7s and tier 8s from the magics only. Now they can always drop below. You never ever, there's no way to rule out lower map drops. So those will always stay. Now, let's say this is the first tier 7 that you've run of an entire league. When you're looking for your +1 to progress, you will only be able to drop this tier 7 back at itself at tier 7 because it's the first one you've run. If you haven't unlocked any other 7s anywhere else on the map, then you can't drop them. And you will only be able to run the tier 8s that are connected to it. You will only be able to drop those. So the order in which that checks stuff is it looks for what map drops, then your Atlas completion, which I'll get to in a minute, which controls the tier of the map that's going to drop. Then it checks to see if you can drop a map of that tier. So for instance, if this was my first 7 and I killed the boss and it rolled a tier 9 drop, but I haven't run any tier 9s, I haven't collected any tier 9s, there's none on my Atlas, then it has to roll back down to a tier 8, of which it can only give me these 2. Now, if my next one, let's say I run race course, and now I go run another tier 7, because I had 2 tier 7s in my collection at the beginning of the map. So I now run Waterways second. Now you'll find that Waterways only connected to 1.8. I've shaped my iceberg, but we'll ignore that. That's normally a tier 8 on this Atlas. So while I'm running Waterways, I'll be able to drop Waterways because I'm in there. I'll be able to drop Race Course because I just ran it. And the only tier 8 I'll be able to drop is Iceberg because it's the only tier 8 that's connected. Right? So we're looking at either completed or connected to the map. Now, I'm going to touch on this real quick, your bonus completion. So this doesn't control how many maps drop. It does not give you any more maps at all. It does not control that. What it does is it specifically gives you a chance when a map drops to bump that up a tier or possibly up 2 tiers. So with 116% completion, which is what I've got right now, I have a 100% chance to force a map up 1 tier and a 16% chance to force it up another tier. However, this can never break the rules. So if I am in my tier 7 map and a white mob drops a tier 7 map, my Atlas completion will try to push it up to a tier 8, but that would break the rule because a white mob can only drop the same tier map you're already in. So it won't happen. So what this helps is it helps if if I drop a tier 6 map in my tier 7 map naturally, then it will roll up to a 7, right? If my blue mobs drop a tier 7 map, it will roll up to a tier 8. But it doesn't control how many maps are going to drop. So, how does this work with shaping our atlases? How do we maintain one map forever? So, this league specifically, Glacier is all of the rage. People are loving maintaining tier 2 glaciers. This is absolutely the rage, so we're going to use it as an example. So, to force our atlas to drop what we want, we complete as many maps as we can because we love the completion. However, you'll notice in tier 2s, we remove all of the other tier 2s. Now, this goes back to Glacier is not connected to any other tier 2s. Even without my shaping, there are no other tier 2s over here. It's the only one. So while running Glacier, Glacier is the only tier 2 that can drop, because I haven't got any other completions. However, when we go up to tier 3, which you'll notice I removed all of as well, there are 2 maps that are tier 3s connected to Glacier. So whenever I'm inside Glacier and I drop a tier 3 map, it would normally be a tier 3 map because there are ones connected. So uncompleting these didn't help. If I had a single tier 3 map on my atlas anywhere, even if it was one of these connected ones or not right now, that would be what would drop all of the time. I would always get that tier 3. So we have to rule out every possible tier 3. The only way to do that has been to get Shape one map and Elder the other. So now the 2 connected tier 3s are now a tier 8 and a tier 16, meaning they're completely out of the drop pool. They are gone. They do not exist anymore. They cannot drop as tier 3s. So that means if my Glacier rolls me a tier 3 drop, there is no tier 3 on my atlas, so it will always roll backwards. It'll always come down. If it can't drop something, it will always fall back until it can, right? So we would look at the same thing if we were going to if we were going to shape our atlas around, let's say City Square, because that's the other option. People like City Square. That's another option. So what we would do if we wanted City Square this time is we would type tier 4 right here. We'd look at all our other tier 4s on the atlas, and we would get rid of all of them. Not unique maps. You can leave those on. You do not need to get rid of unique maps. But yeah, we would get rid of all of the tier 4s that are everywhere, and then we would get rid of all of the tier 5s, except we'd be looking at there being a tier 5 ramparts and a tier 5 burial chambers that are both connected. So no matter whether we complete those maps or not, they're in the drop pool. So what you'd be looking to do is Elder burial chambers and Shape ramparts to get them both away from the drop pool. So now you've forced all tier 4 maps and all tier 5 maps to roll back down to tier 4. This trick works pretty much once you've set it up without any investment. You can safely in most leagues maintain up to about a tier 12, tier 13 map with no investment. And when I say no investment, I mean no sacrifice fragments, no re-rolling your maps, no sextants, no nothing. You can get up to a tier 12-ish, tier 13-ish area by doing that sort of strategy where you force 2 whole tiers to drop the one map that you want. So I'm going to touch on one other thing, which is how we do shaped maps, which runs on the same principle, and now we'll understand why that works, right? So I have shaped my volcano to tier 15, and I have shaped my port to tier 14, and now you'll notice that I've stopped my atlas progression at tier 13 here right now. Now I'll probably be changing this later in the league. Not important why I've done it, but it is important how it works. So I've completed all the way up to 13s. So if I was to run any of these natural 13s, they're all connected to 14s that would drop. So that's not ideal for me because I don't want any of those maps right now. But you will find that if I run my tier 14 port, again, all tiers lower can drop. We can't stop that. So these 13s, they don't matter. When they drop, that doesn't take anything away from me. However, there are no 15s connected to this. So what's the only 15 that can drop? Volcano, because I shaped that to a tier 15. So every time I drop a 14 when I'm inside port, it will have to be port because there's nothing connected. And every time I drop a tier 15, it will have to be volcano. Now, when I go and run volcanoes, I have no tier 16s completed either. So when I'm running my shaped volcano at tier 15, every tier 15 that drops must be a volcano because, again, I'm not connected to any other 15s. And any tier 16 that drops can't drop because I'm not connected to any 16s, so it rolls down to a 15, and that lets me maintain volcanoes. Now, when you're getting up to tier 15, tier 16 maps, this is the same trick for Eldered maps, right? If I removed, I'm using my Elder right now to block, but if I got rid of my tier 16, Eldered there, and I Eldered a map I actually wanted, say I wanted to run Eldered Burial Chambers, all you would then have to do would be remove your Guardians, make sure that it's the only tier 16. You'll notice that it's not connected to any other tier 16s, which is important. You cannot Elder a map that's right next to a Guardian. What specific map it is doesn't matter because they're going to change it every league. But for the sake of this right here, there's Acid Caverns and there's Caldera and there's Summit, right? If we were to Elder these into tier 16s, if I Eldered my Summit, I said I want to run Summits, those would be great, I want to Elder that. It's always going to be beside Forge of the Phoenix, so I would get a lot of Forge of the Phoenix. And that would skew my map pool. So you can never Elder something that's right beside the tier 16, right? Because that's you're putting them connected. Now, map drops don't necessarily stop where you think they should at tier 16. The same rules keep applying. There just aren't any tier 17 maps. So pretending I'm going to use an Eldered Leyline. By the way, don't Elder Leyline if you plan on running an Eldered map, but we'll move on. We'll pretend I'm running Eldered Leyline, and I have no 16s on my Atlas. So what happens is, all the white mobs can drop all the way up to tier 16s. Great. Magic mobs can drop tier 17s, but tier 17s don't exist, and therefore it rolls back down. Tier 18s can come from the bosses, but they don't exist, so it rolls down to 17, which still doesn't exist, so it rolls down to 16, right? So where from your Eldered map, you're trying to maintain the exact same strategy. It's still you're looking at having several tiers roll back to the same map. That's still the same strategy. The higher tier you go, the harder it becomes. You start wanting to re-roll tier 16s for high quant and add sack fragments and sextant them for more returns and things like that. But you can get away with 0 investment pretty solidly up to about tier 12 with just absolutely nothing, just Alk and go on any map you want to sustain, so long as you follow those rules. So quick recap, no matter what map you pick, you need to make sure there are no other maps anywhere else of the same tier, no maps of the tier higher, and then you need to get rid of the connected maps. So the connected maps that are of the same tier or higher, depending on how they shuffle stuff around, those will be in the drop pool. So we're looking to remove them from the drop pool by way of Shaper Orbs and Elder Orbs. Yeah. So hopefully that lets people not just tell them how to do a map or how to maintain a particular map, but lets you know how the map drops works, and will hopefully let you pick your own maps in the future. When they reshuffle the Atlas, none of these rules will change. So hopefully this helps. This is a bit of a long-winded video, so if it was helpful, please let me know. I guess I should try and script my videos more, but that seems like less fun, so we're not gonna do that. Yeah. Alright. Hopefully that's helpful. I am Baylor Mage, and I will see everybody later.